So, my topic today is teaching for world citizenship, global studies at a national Japanese university. So I'm a retired professor at Tottori University and past chair of the Giles SIG. I'm also the editor of our Global Issues newsletter for the SIG. If you're interested, please take a look online or join up to the SIG. And I've done a lot of work over the past 20, 30 years in these areas of global education and social justice. Some of the articles and chapters I have are in books like these. And also I've got a textbook called Off to the World and do a bit of writing for Japan Times every 2 weeks, essays on language and culture and social issues. So to give a bit of personal background about the course I'm going to describe today, let me talk about my start as a foreign language learner in Canada. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and growing up in a bilingual nation, I got interested in languages very quickly. French, of course, was compulsory from junior high, picking up German in high school. And after, 7 years of French and 4 years of school German at second year university, I finally realized that I couldn't speak either French or German, despite all my years of study. So that frustration drove me to drop out. Embarrassing photograph of me back in 1970 something. And frustration with language learning, dropping out so I could go off to Europe to learn French and German was the start of my round the world trip. 4 years from 1974 to 78, a chance to actually see the world and get a sense of its peoples, its cultures, and the issues it faces. So for me, it was a big adventure crossing my own country, Canada, flying off to the UK, getting off to Europe. I spent about, a year altogether, England, Scotland, Ireland, working here and there, living in Paris, France for a couple of months, working in Germany, going to work in a European youth camp in Sweden, slowly getting a sense of European peoples and cultures and so on, then heading off on the Middle Eastern trip, overland across Asia, bus, hitchhiking, train, and so on, boat across from India to Malaysia, and then back to East Asia. While I was traveling in Asia, I had about 10 days to 2 weeks in every country. And I tried hard to learn the language, meet the people, read books, understand, the history and the social issues facing each place. It was an education, basically. Once I finished my round the world trip, I did a master's degree in applied linguistics at the University of Reading. One of my profs was David Crystal, author of the book English is a Global Language, again, a very famous linguist. And completing the master's degree and having zero money, I and my wife decided to go off and have an adventure. 2 years teaching English in the Middle East. Country Jordan. We were at a university working with Arab students, Palestinians, learning Arabic and Islam, 2 very full years of getting a sense of that part of the world. And from the Middle East, I got a job offer from Tottori University and went from the Middle East deserts to the sand dunes of Tottori. Interesting transition. So that trip around the world for me was my global education in a sense, seeing our planet, arriving at Tottori University. And on the first week, I sat down with the president to sign my contract. Tottori University president told me I have 2 requests, and I'd just been hired. We just signed the contract. Request number 1, please teach our students to speak English. Okay, I've got a master's degree. Let me get onto that. And number 2, help our students to become international. I said, whoa, become international. What does that even mean? So that was the start back in 1985 of being asked by the president of my university to help students become international, to start getting involved with global education. So my approach to global education and global studies is based partly on documents such as UNESCO's 1974 recommendation on education for international understanding, cooperation, and peace, and the 1987 LinguaPEC's Kiev Declaration. Important declarations. Do read them if you have a chance, to talk about our responsibility as educators to promote international understanding. I was also beginning to read in this new area of global education coming out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, books such as World Studies, Global Teacher, Global Learner, the UK, American books on global education curriculum development, very interesting ideas about how to design courses and curricula. And I was struck by the definition. What we want to do as global educators is to promote the knowledge, skills, and attitudes relevant to living responsibly in a multicultural, interdependent world. So these were the themes that were driving my approach to designing a global studies program at Tottori University. The context itself, Tottori University was chosen as one of 42 global universities back in the early years of this century, the 21st century. From 2013 to 2016, we got a special budget to do global personnel training, a lot of money, which allowed us to do a number of things. It helped us to strengthen our university's foreign languages program, English, Spanish, Korean, Chinese, Russian, and so on. We set up some very interesting overseas programs, taking students off to Mexico for 3 months, to Taiwan, Malaysia, Uganda, US, Canada, Vietnam, Indonesia. And also it allowed us to put together a global education program available to students to get a special certificate. And they put me in charge of doing the Global Studies 1 and 2 course. So Global Studies, my challenge was to design a program, and I had to sit down and think, what do students have to know to become world citizens? And having done some reading here and there and thinking, I broke it down into 3 basic areas. To become good global citizens, students should know something about, first, world themes, world religions, world languages, world this and that. Something about world regions, the world's peoples, countries, cultures, and something about world issues, war and peace, human rights, development, environment. So when I had my proposal to the university committee, I said, I'd like to have 3 courses, one on world themes, one on world regions, and one on world issues. And they said, well, we love your proposal. We can't give you 3 courses, we'll give you 2. So what eventually happened is world themes and world regions became Global Studies 1, and world issues became Global Studies 2, kind of a compromise. So let's take a look at each of these, okay? I'll show you the way I designed the program, these 2 courses, and some of their content. World Themes is the first part of Global Studies 1. It's the first half, about 8 different classes. And the idea of using themes is kind of interesting. If you look at thematic teachers, they often talk about theme work being important, especially world themes, because they stimulate interest in the wider world. They raise awareness of cultural differences. They give students lifelong practical skills. They draw on students' curiosity. They can generate lots of language learning. And basically, they're just very, very interesting. So I thought carefully, I only have 8 classes. I'll maybe choose these 8 themes, or 7 themes. World names, world religions, world flags, world writing systems, world languages, world money, and world customs and taboos. And after all that, a midterm test. So we'll take a look at some of these briefly just to see the kind of content. Each of these is a 90-minute lecture, 1 class once a week in Global Studies 1. The design of each of these 90-minute lessons is first a warm-up task, something to get students engaged, then to jump in to study the topic, test their knowledge with a short quiz, and give them some homework afterwards. So let's take a look maybe, for example, at world names. For world names, I decided, okay, 90 minutes. I'd like to get them involved with thinking about English names, naming customs around the world, how names are structured in different countries, problems when you go to a different country with your name, and to be able to identify names and maybe explain your name in English. So we started with English last names. Typical class would say, well, here's some last names, Tiger Woods, Karen Carpenter, and so on. Basically, English last names can be divided into 4 different categories. And these are basically names based on jobs, Carpenter and Baker, names based on places, Mr. Hill, Ms. Rivers, and so on, names based on special features, strong arms, Armstrong, White, and father-son connections. Of course, all these names originated in the Middle Ages, and students are kind of interested to say, wow, there's actually a system. These actually have a background, a history. To get students to be able to identify first names, I'll give them some example, traditional names for different countries, little quiz like this. Number 1, common first names for boys, Jacques Jean-Michel, and for girls, Françoise Nicole Marie. What country could that be? And students have to get together to figure out, oh, that's France. Number two, Antonio, Giuseppe, and so on. Students get a chance to get familiar with common first names around the world. So first names are good to know. Hearing a first name to say, that's French, German, Russian, and so on. Last names are also kind of interesting. I designed this kind of component where we study these suffixes and prefixes that indicate the ethnic roots of different people. Yamahara means a Japanese name. Duplessis, is a French name. Stein and Man are suffixes for German names. Greek names end in opulus often, etc., etc. So for students, this is the first time to say, wow, see, if you listen to the name and you check that suffix or prefix, you can often tell what roots the language is. Enko, for example, is a Ukrainian suffix. If someone's name is Kravchenko, they have Ukrainian roots. We practice together, then you can give maybe students a quiz. What kind of name is Sanchez? It ends with an "ez," that must be Spanish. What about Papadopoulos? That's probably a Greek name. Lagstrom, that's Scandinavian, and so on. Students have a chance to explain their own names in English, give them maybe a sample. My name is Akiko Ogawa. Akiko is my first name, Ogawa is my last name. Akiko is written with 2 Chinese characters. Again, a nice model for them to practice and to be able to explain their names very fluently in English. And maybe throw in a song as well. Every child has a beautiful name, a nice song about the importance of how names are different in different cultures and should be respected. Let's take a look at world religions. You might do a warm-up just to get students relaxed with a pair interview. Ask your partner, are you religious? Did you study world religions? Have you ever met a Muslim, for example? Short warm-up just to get a sense of students' backgrounds. And in class, we study 5 religions: Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, and Hinduism. As the opening activity, I'll give students this chart and say, get in groups of 5. You've got 5 minutes, fill in the English name of all these categories, as many as possible. So the left is the religion, and then we have the name of the founder, the name of God, the name of the holy book, and so on. For students, this is kind of a challenge, right? No using smartphones or dictionaries, just your own knowledge. What's the name of the holy book for this religion, and so on. And when you're ready to go, put students together and start asking them, choose a square, any square. Akiko might say, okay, I'll choose the holy book for Islam, and it is the Quran. Very good, 1 point for Akiko. Somebody else, I choose maybe this for Christianity. Name of the building is a church. I'll choose the name of the holy place for Jerusalem, or maybe the holy day for Islam, maybe the founder of Christianity. So this gives students a chance, after working in groups, to show what they know and correct any mistakes, interactive style, and fairly straightforward. After that, I'll hand out maybe a sample answer sheet where we say, okay, these are sort of the basic information about religions with founders and books, holy places, and so on. Students will practice and so on. And then we'll maybe get, of the 5 students in each group, say, choose a religion. You'll become an instant expert. Students decide which religion they want to go for, and I might give them a kind of world religions short profile. Each student gets maybe a short card like this. They have to read it and then be able to explain their religion to their friends. And here, I've written these for university students, basic information about number of believers, holy day, and so on. Same kind of information they've done in the chart, this time in written form. So students become experts, explain their religion to the group, getting to know more and more about these important world religions. We talk about where they're located, where is Islam prevalent, Hinduism, and so on. And also the basic data. What % of the world's population are Christian or Muslim or Hindu, and so on. From there, maybe we can take a look at world writing systems, also kind of fun. We might start off with a quiz. Here, I'm going to give you a quiz paper, identify the alphabet, the language, the country, something like this, perhaps. For students, this is very visually interesting, right? Seeing all these different writing systems and guessing. Number 2, could that be, what about number 3, and so on. We can try very briefly. Number 1 is here, for example. That's the Greek alphabet, right? Number 2 is Some students may know, oh, that's the Thai alphabet from Thailand. This one here, that's maybe Arabic, used by Arab nations. This one is Devanagari, used for Hindi and Sanskrit in India and so on. A little warm-up quiz. From the quiz, we jump into study. I've got 10 different alphabets, and we study about each one, its special features, and do a bit of PowerPoint work. We can take example Cyrillic, the Cyrillic alphabet for Russian. Show an example, a bit of information, how it was invented in the 9th century by Saint Cyril, the different kinds of special features it has. Show the spread of the alphabet maybe, and also give students a chance to look at these special letters. The Cyrillic alphabet is interesting if you actually learn a couple of basic things, the English equivalent, you can start reading Russian. So I'll give them maybe an example. What about this one? Well, that's an R, that's an O, that's an S, S-I, that's a Ya. Russia, that's the name Russian, Russia, written in the Cyrillic alphabet. You want to give students a quiz, I might take something like this and say, okay, your friend sees a poster on the wall. He says, what writing system is that? And you say, that's the Devanagari alphabet. It's probably Hindi, it's from India. Or you see a book on a tabletop with some writing. What writing system is it? That's got to be Arabic, okay? So again, real world examples to get students practicing their knowledge to identify writing systems. By doing all these different topics, students slowly get a sense of becoming Indiana Jones, okay? Somebody says, hi, my name is Mr. Stavropoulos. Your name is Greek, right? Oh, that's right. My grandfather immigrated from Greece to Australia. They see a flag on TV, the Olympics. That's the flag of Saudi Arabia. We've studied that in class, world flags. Maybe they see something on television. That's the Thai alphabet. This must be a report from Bangkok, etc. So by slowly learning about these themes, students are able to become more aware and understanding of the world. It's kind of an Indiana Jones effect. Of course, there are lots of other themes you could work with. Again, thematic teaching, I recommend strongly. The second part of Global Studies 1 is world regions, okay? Looking about the world's peoples, countries, and cultures. So we do one continent each week, traveling around the world in 6 weeks. So we look at Asia, Africa, Europe, Latin America, the Middle East, and North America. 90 minutes on each region, just kind of very basic information. We try to look at the peoples as well as the facts of geography. And each lesson consists of map practice, basic info, video clips, a bit about the current situation, and country studies. Africa, for example. Africa is a very special continent, okay? We can look at the geography, Sahara in the north, south, the jungle, savanna, and so on, satellite images. Cultural differences, the north, Arab Islam, south, Black Christian animist. And also getting students a chance to learn the countries of the map. 54 countries in Africa, it'll be on the final exam. Students are a bit worried, but we start slow. Let's take a look at the first row at the top. We have Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Egypt. If you take the first letter of each country, that spells male. What do you know? There's T, Tunisia, male plus T. You've got the first row of countries for Africa. Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, plus Tunisia. So here I help students learning how to memorize different countries, and on the test, they'll have to fill out these different countries to be able to understand the map of Africa, where each place is. Africa, amazing dynamic continent. We'll do some reading in English with maybe some Japanese handouts as well, learning about the continent and its special features. Talk about which countries used to be colonies of Europe, very important, okay? Seeing how West Africa was largely French, which countries colonized by Portugal, Belgium, and so on. And I like to throw in travel videos, giving students a sense of each region, not just textbook learning and maps and so on, but to see people who've gone, especially young people their age, to kind of stimulate them and empower them. There's a great video clip, Overland Through Africa, driving from Cairo to Cape Town in 3 minutes by British young people. Japanese young kids going off 10 countries in Europe, nice video clip. Or Japanese girls flying off to South America. Students the same age traveling saying, wow, if they can do it, maybe I can too. I also like to bring music into the classroom to get a bit of rhythm into each region. So for the Middle East, we might listen to some traditional music, Fairuz, one of the classic singers of the Arabic world, Batelak, or one of the new pop stars, Amir Diab, singing Layla, giving students a sense of the music that comes with this. For Latin America, take a deep breath and show students Despacito, for example, Louis Fonsi, kind of fun. Country studies, we do three countries in class, looking at them in detail with handouts and so on. And for homework, students have two other countries they have to profile. Choose any country in the region and do a research about the history, people, culture, and so on. The final part of global studies is the second course called Global Studies 2, World Issues. So for this, we look at war and peace, human rights, development, and the environment. For each of these topics, I have 3 weeks, which gives you lots of time to explore different topics. 3 weeks on war and peace, 3 weeks on human rights, 3 weeks development, 3 weeks on the environment. War and peace, for example. The kind of topics we'll study might be types of war, causes of war, types of violence, look at military spending, nuclear weapons, refugees of war, peaceful nations, and so on. And types of war, we might study in detail types of war, getting a sense of what wars are and why they happen. We might look at the most peaceful countries based on the Global Peace Index. As of 2019, top 10 were Iceland, New Zealand, Portugal, Austria, Denmark, Canada, Singapore, Slovenia, Japan, and Czech Republic, Japan in top 10. I'll show clips of organizations such as Peace Boat, NGOs working for peace worldwide, and maybe also people like Alfred Nobel and the Nobel Peace Prize. We'll read about the Peace Prize, about Nobel, and then students will have a homework task. Profile 3 Nobel Peace Prize winners. So here's a chance for students to look at the list I give them, saying, okay, I'd like to go for maybe, studying about key people, Dalai Lama, or others. Human rights, we look at a large number of topics, types of rights, human rights ranking, minority rights, and so on. Students need a basic understanding of the different types of human rights: civil, political, social, economic, minority rights, women's rights, children's rights, and we go into all of these. We look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its 30 articles, and watch various videos, blue eyes, brown eyes videos, studying about Amnesty International and so on. One great YouTube clip I'd recommend is The Story of Human Rights, which gives a nice overview of the history and current situation. Development, we look at North-South issue, third world developing countries, okay? Why are people poor? A task for students and groups to debate different opinions. And of course, SDGs, looking at these 17 development goals. Great clips online about the SDGs to introduce students to these. And finally, environment. Environment will be a wide variety of topics, looking at air, water pollution, endangered species, garbage, rainforests, and so on. We'll work a lot on the vocabulary, so students get a good sense of the keywords used. Look at maybe special case studies, tropical rainforest destruction, and how we're connected to this global problem. Here, online videos and PowerPoints, tracking down the connections. Look at maybe bicycle-friendly cities, okay? A great video clip here. Tokyo is actually ranked number 9 on the top 10 cycling-friendly cities. Number 1, I think, is Copenhagen. And Earth Day, very important for students to know. Every year there's a day we look at ways of connecting with the Earth. Often I'll give students a final project, choose a global issue, find an organization working to solve it, raise money for that organization, donate it, and attach your receipt to your final report. Here, for example, way back in 2013, we had Masahiro doing Ainu rights, Masumi World Hunger, Risa Refugees, choosing groups such as UNICEF, UNHCR, and actually donating money, the first time in their lives for most of them, to an organization. So preparing this course means, again, a lot of work on the teacher's part, taking ideas from geography, global ed, human rights education, and bringing them into your global studies classroom. It means a lot of research on each topic, reading books, checking teaching resources. For world religions, for example, you might read about 5, 6, 7, 8 books before you sit down to design your world religions lesson. And again, after doing all this, as a teacher, designing world themes, world regions, world issues, you are also becoming a global educator as you do this. The knowledge and skills you gather, you can help to impart to your students. Finally, I recommend publicizing your course. If you are teaching about global issues, social activism, tell your colleagues, your school, and the wider community. You should be proud of helping your your university to achieve their goals of promoting world citizenships. For me, getting a chance to be in our university, a newsletter, for example, shows the good work we're doing as global educators and helps to stimulate other students to come along and join the fun. Okay, that's a rapid view then. Thanks very much for your attention, and I recommend all of you to explore in your own ways to bring world themes, world regions, and world issues into your own classroom teaching. Thank you.